Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be reading The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. I've been reading this book for a while. It's really long. So this is the first story. Chapter 1. Nothing can happen more beautiful than death. Tanya woke lying in a bathtub. Her legs were drawn up, her cheek pressed against the cold metal of the faucet. A slow drip had soaked the fabric on her shoulder and wetted locks of her hair. The rest of her, including her clothes, were still completely dry, which was kind of a relief. Her neck felt stiff, her shoulders ached. She looked up dazedly at the ceiling as the blots of mold grow on Rorschach patterns. For a moment she felt completely disorientated. Then she scrambled up onto her knees, skin sliding on the enamel, and pushing aside the shower curtain. The sink was piled with plastic cups, beer bottles, and askew hand towels. Bright, buttery, late summer sunlight streamed in from a small window above the toilet, interrupted by the swinging shadows made by the garland of garlic hung above it. A party, right? She'd been at a sundown party. Ugh, she said, her fingers on the curtain to steady herself, popping 3 rings off the rod with her weight. Her temples throbbed dully. She remembered getting ready, putting on the jangly bracelets that still chimed together when she moved at the steel-toed oxblood boots that took forever to lace and were mysteriously no longer on her feet. Remembered the way she'd line her foggy blue eyes in shimmering black and kissed her mirror for luck. Everything got a little blurry after that. Levering herself up, Tanya stumbled to the faucet and splashed water on her face. Her makeup was smudged, lipstick smeared across her cheek, mascara spread like a stain. The white baby doll dress she borrowed out of her mother's closet was ripped at the sleeve. Her black hair was a tangled mess that finger combing didn't do a lot to fix. She looked like a dissipated mime. The truth was that she was pretty sure she'd passed out in the bathroom while avoiding her ex, Aiden. Before that, there'd been some playing of a drinking game called the Lady or the Tiger, where you bet on whether a tossed coin would come up heads, lady, or tails, tiger. If you picked wrong, you had to do a shot. After that came a lot of dancing and some more swigs from a bottle of whiskey. Aiden had urged Tanya to make out with his new sulky-mouthed, strawberry-haired girlfriend, the one who was wearing a dog collar she found in the mudroom. He said it would be like an eclipse of the sun and the moon in the sky, a marriage of all things dark and light. You mean an eclipse of the sun and moon in your pants? Tanya had told him. But he'd been doggedly infuriating persistent. And as the whiskey sank through her blood, the sweat slicked her skin. A dangerous, familiar recklessness filled her, with a face like a wicked cherub. Aiden had always been coming in and out all night with her right there, behind the shower curtain, and how humiliating was that? And padded out in the hall, the smell of spilled beer filled the air along with something else, something metallic, the charnel suite. The television was on in the other room, and she could hear the low voices of a newscaster as she walked towards the kitchen. Lance's parents didn't care about his having sundown parties at their own farmhouse, so he had one almost every weekend, locking the doors at dusk and keep them barred until dawn. She'd been to plenty, and the mornings were always full of shouting and showering, boiling coffee, and trying to hack together breakfast from a couple of eggs and scraps of toast. And long lines for the 2 small bathrooms, with people beating on the doors. If you took too long, everyone needed to pee, take a shower, and change clothes. Surely that would have woken her. But If she had slept through it and everyone was already out at a diner, they would be laughing it up, joking about her unconscious in the tub and whatever they'd done in the bathroom while she was asleep. Plus, maybe photos. All kinds of stupid stuff that she was just lucky they hadn't marked a mustache on her. If Pauline had been at the party, none of this would happen. When they got wasted, they usually curled up underneath the dining room table, limbs draped over each other like kittens in a basket. No boy in the world, not even Aiden, was bold enough to face Pauline's razor tongue. But Pauline was away at drama camp, and Tanya had been bored, so she'd gone to the party alone. The kitchen was empty, spilt booze and orange soda pooling on the countertops, and being soaked up by a smatter of potato chips. Tanya was reaching for the coffee pot when across the black and white linoleum floor, just on the other side of the door frame to the living room, she saw a hand, its fingers stretched out as if in sleep. She relaxed. No one was awake yet. That was all. Maybe she was the first one up, although when she thought back to the sun streaking through the bathroom window, it had seemed high in the sky. The longer she gazed at the hand, the more she noticed that it seemed oddly pale, the skin around the fingernails bluish. Tanya's heart started to thud, her body reacting before her mind caught up. She slowly set the pot back on the counter and forced herself to cross the kitchen floor, step by careful step, until she was over the threshold of the living room. Then she had to force herself not to scream. The tan carpet was stiff and black with stripes of dried blood, spattered like Jackson Pollock's canvas. The walls were streaked with it, handprints smearing the dingy beige surface, and the bodies, dozens of bodies, people she'd seen every day since kindergarten, people whom she'd played tag with and cried over and kissed, were lying at odd angles, their bodies pale and cold, their eyes staring like rows of dolls in a shop window. The hand near Tanya's foot belonged to Imogene, a pretty, plump, pink-haired girl who was planning on going to art school next year. Her lips were slightly apart. Her navy anchor print sundress rode up so that her thighs were visible. She appeared to have been caught as she was trying to crawl away, one arm extended over and the other gripping the carpet. Ota's, Ilana's, and Joan's body were piled together. They'd just gotten back from summer cheer camp and had started the party off with a series of backflips in the yard just before sunset, as mosquitoes buzzed through the warm breeze. Now, dry blood crusted their clothing like rust, tinting their hair, dotting their skin like freckles. Their eyes were locked open, the pupils gone cloudy. She found Lance on a couch, posed with his arms thrown over the shoulder of a girl on one side and a boy on the other, all three of their throats being ragged puncture marks, all three of them with beer bottles resting near their hands as if they were still at the party, as though their white blue lips were likely to say her name at any moment. Tanya felt dizzy. The room seemed to spin. She sank to the blood-covered carpet and sat, pounding in her head, growing louder and louder. On the television, someone was spraying orange cleaner on the granite countertop while a grinning child ate jam off a slice of bread. One of the windows was open. It would have been easy to forget to close it. There was still the garlic, after all, still the holy water on the lintels. Things like this happened in Europe, in places like Bengalium, where the streets teemed with vampires, and the shops didn't open until after dark. Not here. Not in Tanya's town, where there hadn't been a single attack in more than 5 years. And yet, it happened. A window had been left open to the night, and a vampire had crawled through. He should get her phone to call someone, not her father. There was no way he would be able to deal with this. Maybe the police, or a vampire hunter, like Hemlock from the TV, the huge, bald, former wrestler, always decked out in leather. He would know what to do. Her little sister has a poster of Hemlock in her locker, right next to pictures of golden-haired Lucine, her favorite coldtown vampire. Pearl would be so excited if Hemlock came. She would finally get his autograph. Tanya started giggling, which was bad. She knew, and put her hands over her mouth to smother the sound. It wasn't okay to laugh in front of dead people. That was like laughing at a funeral. The unblinking eyes of her friends watched her. On the television, the newscaster was predicting scattered showers later in the week. The NASDAQ was down. Tanya remembered all over again that Pauline hadn't been at the party. She was so fiercely, so selfishly glad that she couldn't even party. She was feel bad about it because Pauline was alive, even though everyone else was dead. From far away in the guest room, someone's phone started to ring. It was playing a tiny remix of Tainted Love. After a while, it stopped. Then two phones much closer went off, almost at the same time. The rings combined in a chorus of distorted sounds. The news turned into a show about three men who lived together in an apartment with a wisecracking skull. The laughing track roared every time the skull spoke. Tanya wasn't sure if it was a real show, if she was just imagining it. Time slipped by. She gave herself a lecture. She had to get up off the floor and go into the guest room, where jackets piled up on the bed and root around where jackets were piled up on the bed, and so she found her purse, her boots, her car keys, her cell phone was there too. She needed that if she was going to call someone. She had to do it right then. No more sitting. It occurred to her that there was a phone closer, shoved into the pocket of one of the corpses, or pressed between cold, dead skin and the lace of a bra. But she couldn't bear the idea of searching bodies. Get up, she told herself. Pushing herself to stand, she started picking her way across the floor, trying to ignore the way the carpet crunched under her bare feet, trying not to remember the smell of decay blooming in the room. She remembered something from her sophomore year social studies class. Her teacher had told them about the famous raid in Corpus Christi when Texas tried to close its coldtown and drove tanks into it during the day. Every human inside who might have been infected got shot. Even the mayor's daughter was killed. A lot of sleeping vampires were killed too, rooted out of their hiding places, and beheaded or exposed to sunlight. When the night fell, the remaining vampires were able to kill the guards at the gate and flee, leaving dozens and dozens of drained and infected people in their wake. Corpus Christi vampires were still a popular target for bounty hunters on television. That is where I'm going to stop today. We got to page 8. That's a good sign. So I hope you guys like. Please comment and subscribe. Bye!